promised, our top story, which is really interesting, we are talking about the deadpool list or the list of failed startups. Now, yesterday, Krishna, I came across a post in Factor Daily which spoke about this, deadpool list floating around, and we really decided to dig up that list for our Startup Central community. So we have the entire list here, courtesy Tracxn, where they have collated about 753 startups that have failed since being founded in 2011. It throws up some fascinating insights about the number of startups, number of startups funded, and also the total number of funding that went into these startups, and also, the most prominent sectors that are sort of susceptible to failure. It also has some prominent names. You have Peppertap, you have Fashionara, Local Banya, Done by None. Those are some of the names really out of the 753.
That is our top story, number of startups in the deadpool, 753. That's the data coming in from the list that Tracxn has put together, 753. And also the number of money sunk into these deadpool startups exceeds $50 million. And that is the reason why this deadpool is our top story today.
We have Neha Singh of Tracxn back with us. Neha, if you can hear me?
Yeah. Yes, I can hear you.
Wonderful.
Okay, great. Neha, just wanted to start by asking you about, the number of startups in this deadpool and how you really arrived at that number, the parameters that you used to really determine if they are dead, if they have failed. Just take us through some details.
Right. So I think just to set some context, one of the reasons why we actually started covering this is we used to get a lot of requests from founders of other companies who are looking at companies who are just deadpool or about to die, because these are very good for acquisition. So think about it, if you want to start something in like a mobile division within your company, you're better off, instead of hiring someone from scratch and training them, you're better off hiring a team who has seen that. So it was very good for acqui-hires as well as for hiring multiple people. So that is the reason why we started covering it, and now there are like more than 700 companies which are into that. And essentially, we use a lot of parameters to figure out which are the companies which are going to get deadpool. So essentially, all the signals which help us point out, whether this service is closing down. We look at, how active they are on social, what are the matrices, how many visitors they are having, just before until the company officially comes out and says, that they are shutting down operations.
All right, Neha, this is Krishna coming to you from ET Now's Mumbai studios. I want to check with you, how many of these were funded? And if you look at that total funding number, how much of that has sunk into the deadpool? Is it actually 50 million plus?
Yes, it is actually. The number is, the total funding is more than 50 million, and out of 730, the one which are more institutional funded are more than 70 companies.
Right. Neha, in terms of sectors, any patterns that you see, the industries that are most susceptible to failure?
Yes. So if you look at the total deadpool companies, and if you look at the top sectors, the sectors which stand out, without doubt are, one is online retail. The second one is food tech and grocery. This is also a function of how many companies these sectors had seen. So if you look at the total number of companies that have come about in online retail were a lot. So expectedly, there is also high failure rate in all these sectors. Similarly, for food tech, we saw a lot of companies coming up in the last couple of years. And not everyone have been able to make it to the next, so hence the number of deadpool in these companies are also more.
All right, Neha, I want to ask you, how much of the failure, and all the deadpool startups that we're talking about can be attributed to the lack of funding for that particular sector that they operate in? Because at the end of the day, I think if anything the data throws up, there's never been a shortage of funds.
Yes, so I think the last year and with the slowdown in funding, that has shown a lot of people in this sector that, later stage funding is about to come. But I think it's more a function of this sector, because if you look at the number of companies coming up, if there are 100 number of companies coming up, the number of companies that get an angel funded are probably less than half. And then the number of companies that make it to an institutional round from a proper VC backed rounds, these are even lesser. So you can probably these become then single digit out of say a lot of 100. So it is sort of expected that there is a funnel of the number of companies which go on to raise their angel round as well as institutional round, and then further rounds after the Series A.
Right. Finally, Neha, what happens to the founders from here? I mean, is there any pattern? Do they, again start up another venture, or do they go back to regular jobs, data and jobs? Any patterns that you've been able to establish as far as that is concerned?
Yeah, sure. So, like failure in the more developed ecosystem like a Bay Area is very celebrated. So, it's high time that it also, becomes sort of celebrated in India so I think I see it as a good point, because there are a lot more people who are taking that leap and who are starting, there are bound to be failures. So there are a lot more people who are venturing into taking that risk, starting something. I would say that, it adds a lot of maturity. So now you see a lot more repeat entrepreneurs coming in, wherein, they have started something that didn't work out. So now you have repeat entrepreneurs. The second thing is you can hire, if you look at the senior management of these companies, like, the VP level of a lot of startups, you have people who have gone through that journey. So that is invaluable as companies are scaling up.
All right, Neha Singh of Tracxn, thank you so much for taking time out to be with us here on ET Now Startup Central, and throwing a light on that very important and very oft ignored part of the startup ecosystem, the deadpool. Thank you so much for bringing us the data and the analysis.
Find us on Facebook at facebook.com/ETNow, and don't forget to click the like button. You can also follow us on Twitter at ETNowLive. To stay updated with all our programming, hit the subscribe button on our YouTube channel by logging on to youtube.com/user/ETNow.